What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are working on the V6 MR2 some more. We're gonna be test fitting these 6-point harnesses on the car. This product is from G-Force, and I went with it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted something that was FIA certified. And number two, it was on sale. So this was new old stock. Essentially, of the 5 years lifespan that the FIA cert has, this one is 1 year old, so it has 4 years left. But the price point was 50% off. So essentially, I'm getting 80% of the lifespan for 50% of the price. I had considered like getting a SFI certified harness, and the price would have been about similar, but I would only had 2 years on the cert. So this was just a really good value. So the webbing on this is 3-inch, and to be totally transparent, I would have definitely preferred a 2-inch, just because I think that's going to work a little bit better with the Hans device. But at the end of the day, this will end up working with one, so it's going to be fine. One of the things I did also like about this is the fact that it has these clips, which is going to be super awesome and nice. Although one thing I overlooked is I want to use the OEM stud for the buckle, so I'm going to end up having to get or need to buy a different bracket, but that's really not a big deal. When you're installing harnesses, you definitely want to make sure that you're putting things at the proper angles, and they usually come with like instructions to say, hey, what's an acceptable range? There's some of the instructions that come with the G-Force stuff. It's also a good idea to check with the organization you're going to run with, because sometimes they have their own parameters that they want you to make sure those harnesses are within. Now with that, I think we can go ahead and start this test fit. We're going to start with the submarine belt, and what I've done already is we'll remove this. Down there, I marked each side with Sharpie. For the submarine belt, I believe I'm gonna want it to go backwards, and it's gonna wanna be at least at a 20-degree angle to work effectively. So knowing where the opening is gonna help a lot, because I know that if I end up putting the bolts roughly down here or in this area into the floor pan, that's gonna get me in the ballpark of where I need to be for the angle. One other angle that's really important to know is the angle for the lap belts. So I'm gonna end up reusing the OEM mounting locations on this car, but you just wanna make sure that's within an acceptable range. I went ahead and got the seat out. Right here's that line that I marked earlier for the opening of the seat where the submarine belts will come through. Unfortunately, the instructions really don't say anything about the specifics of the submarine belt. It gives you where the angle that the lap belt should be at and the shoulder harness should be at, but other than like, be careful with mounting this, it just doesn't really say much in regard to the specific angle of the submarine belt. So I'm gonna just kind of go back to some of the stuff I read. Grassroots Motorsports had a really good article on it. I'll actually link to it down below. The recommendation in that article is that if you're installing a 6-point, the sub belt should be at least 20 degrees back. So based on that, I took some quick measurements to figure out the angle, and if I drill a hole here and here, that'll be 20 degrees back. But at the minimum, you want 20 degrees. That way it kind of acts like a clamshell. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but in the event of an accident, it'll help hold me in place better and minimize the chance of submarining. At this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and drill out the holes. I did have to kind of push this one inward just a little bit more, because as you can see, the floor pan divots here. So when I put the backing plate, that wouldn't work. So push this in a little bit more, but it should still be well within where I need it to be. So this hole, you can ignore this X, but then right here is where I will drill the other hole. Yeah, the process of making the holes is pretty straightforward. I just used a punch to make a little divot, and then from there I switched over to my step drill bit until I got to the appropriate size. All right, now that the eye bolts are in, something we really got to talk about is just spreading out the load. If you don't put something there to help spread out the load, in an accident, there's a good chance that the eye bolt could just rip out of the floor. And there's a couple options. I know G-Force sells some like really big oversized washers. They also sell some backing plates. I kind of felt like they were expensive for what they are. So what I ended up doing was I just bought some backing plates that were the same dimensions that G-Force were selling, just a lot cheaper. 4 inches by 4 inches and then 1/8 of an inch thick. So they're the same dimensions that G-Force was selling. They just don't come with a hole pre-drilled. So I had to drill the hole, not a big deal. Another option that I looked at was actually just buying some steel plate down at my local shop. This is exactly what I was gonna do initially until I saw these online, and this was just the cheapest option for this application. And it works out because I'm actually saving this stuff for a different project down the road. Now, something to know, I'm only test fitting everything today in large part because I wanna be able to go back and paint this stuff. I don't wanna just put like exposed metal under the car, because obviously that can cause it to rust. This will be coming out at a later time, just not in this video. So all we got to do now is just hook these bad boys up. These aren't orientated the right way. I really should have them like this. I think that's going to be better. We'll play with it once I get everything mocked into place. That will go like that. This will clip into here. And then once I have the seat in, these will go up through. That really was the hardest part of the install. Up next, we're gonna do the lap belts, which I'm just gonna be reusing the OEM locations. The kit comes with these eye bolts, obviously, and this is one of the OEM locations. The eye bolt will just screw into place right here. There you go. On this side, it's a little bit different because it has a stud. So doing the clip-on method just doesn't really work that well, as you can kind of see there. For the purposes of taking the thumb shot of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on, but I'm not gonna drive the car like this. I don't feel that would be safe at all. There's two different versions of this bracket. There's the snap-on version that you have here, and then if we come over to the instructions, they actually have a bolt-in version. My plan's pretty simple. I'm just gonna go ahead and buy a bolt-in version just specifically for that stud. So I'm gonna need one for this side, and I'll need one for the passenger side as well. At this point, all that's left is mounting these shoulder harnesses, and that's gonna be super easy because I have a roll bar. So I'm just gonna end up mounting it directly to this right here, and it should be good. If you don't have a roll bar, one of the things that you could do is that you could take these little eye bolts and mount them directly to the firewall. You're just going to want to make sure that it's, first of all, at the right angle, and then put a backing plate to spread out that load. Okay, I've never done that method, but I generally see people mount them in like this location here. It'd be something like one here, one there. I didn't need the snap-on buckle just because I'm attaching the harness directly to the roll bar. Now there is a specific procedure for wrapping the harness, and that Grassroots Motorsports article I mentioned earlier does a great job of explaining it. So make sure to check out that link because it'll give you really good directions on how to do the wrap properly. Well, since that other last clip, I put that other shoulder harness on and I put the seat back in. I'm honestly kind of just trying to hurry up and finish because it's really hot, man. We're in the middle of a heat wave here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not used to 100-degree weather. But hey, at least we got this side mocked up, and everything is clearly too big. So this is all going to need to be shortened up, but that's not a big deal because again, all of this is going to end up coming out. Well, not the shoulder harnesses. I can adjust these. These don't need to come out, but the lap belts will end up coming out, and then these sub belts will end up coming out as well. And the reason for that is obviously I'm going to get the different buckle for the lap belt, and then for the sub belt, I want to make sure that I paint underneath so it doesn't rust. Overall, I'm pretty stoked on this. Car's one step closer to, you know, well, being like an actual race car now. I mean, it has the roll bar, partially stripped out interior. In terms of next steps, I'm going to do this off camera, but I'll end up doing all that stuff that I mentioned. I'll put the passenger side harness in on a different day as well. Then from there, I decided I'm gonna put a catch can on this car just because it doesn't have one. Right now, it just vents the atmosphere. Then after that, it's gonna be body work. So I'm gonna do the flares and then start filling in some of these holes over here because there's quite a few of them. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to someone, and if you want to see more MR2 content, stick around because there's a lot more stuff going on with this car. And then this coming winter, I'll be working on the white MR2 as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.